hearty welcome
This
and
call is
a
now being recorded.
great morning to one and all. Happy Christmas to all of you. Myself, Dr. Uma Devi, Assistant Professor of Commerce and convener of this webinar series too. Thank you so much, friends, for being with us continuously for the last webinar series. Today, we come forward with the most powerful topic, intellectual property rights. Due to the globalization, it's become inevitable to protect intellectual property rights, for which a separate law regime is essential. Intellectual property is that property that is developed by the human mind and by human intellect. Now, intellectual property and rights attached to intellectual property are becoming very precious and valuable. In India, there are well established administrative, statutory, and judicial frameworks for protecting intellectual property rights. India has to comply with the agreement on trade related intellectual property rights by enacting the copyrights by enacting the necessary statutes. Intellectual property rights deal with trademarks, copyrights, patents, and geographical indications of goods. The law protecting some special species of intellectual property rights in India. Intellectual property rights have great importance in the growth of a country. Intellectual property law is different in all countries. In many developed countries, the strict enforcement of the intellectual property rights role has a huge contribution to economic growth. Intellectual property rights promotes innovation which leads to economic growth. Nowadays, every business in the world is the creation of innovation. The current era has realized the importance of intellectual property laws. It is not only innovation but also the name which matters in today's world. The name carries huge value in the form of goodwill. Some companies just sell their name in exchange for a huge amount of money. Intellectual property rights have a great influence on the financial improvement of a nation. The intellectual property can play both negative and positive growth in economic development. On this backdrop, we, the Department of Commerce, in association with IQAC, is organizing this webinar on significance of intellectual property rights and the patents in the progress of the economy. This webinar will provide valuable information about the intellectual property rights, need for their protection, and their protection and significance of intellectual property rights in the progress of the economy. The session will provide valuable inputs on intellectual property rights and its protection. This is an interactive session. You can clarify your doubts with the resource person at the end of the session. Um, Dr. Yoginder Singh, HOD of Commerce, is unable to attend this program, and hence, on behalf of him, I welcome Dr. Srinivas Garu, today's esteemed guest, and the participants of the webinar. Now I request Mrs. V. Sridevi, Assistant Professor of Commerce and one of the coordinators of this webinar series, to introduce our esteemed chief guest. Thank you. Sridevi. Sridevi, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning to all the participants. Good morning, sir, Srinivas, sir. Uh, it's my great privilege to introduce our eminent resource person today, Dr. A. Srinivas Garu. He is Faculty of Law, IPR Law and Constitution of India in Department of Human and Social Sciences, JNTU Kakinada. Sir, we heartily welcome you, sir. Sir has a vast academic profile. He has completed his BSc, BL, ML, MA Political Science from Andhra University, Vizag. He has also qualified his PG diploma in cyber law and law information system from University of Hyderabad. Sir has completed his MA in journalism and mass communication and MBA from Acharya Nagarjuna University. Sir has completed his PhD in 2009 from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam on the topic Expanding Horizons of Judicial Review and Public Interest Litigations, a Critical Appraisal. Sir, by the topic itself, it is a little bit complicated for us to listen, but according to you, it might be easy for you, sir. And sir has also published a book named Expanding Horizons of Judicial Review and Public Interest Litigation, a Critical Appraisal, published by Paramount Publishers, Hyderabad. Books are under publication. 2 books are under publication titled Judicial Activism and Public Interest Litigation. Another one is Intellectual Property Rights, Patents and Cyber Laws. So these 2 books are under publication, and 1 book is under review named Professional Ethics is under review. And sir has published many articles in the journals. All articles are with regard to IPR only, and some of the articles are human rights violation, judicial interventions, performance appraisal, a case study, compensation management, a case study, and Nyaya Palana. It is a judicial administration, an article in Telugu published in Turpu Godavari Jilla, Charitra Sanskriti. And sir has also published many articles in conference proceedings. Some of them are copyright and censorship role in the developing country, a study, digital environment and preservation of electronic resources, copyrights, issues and professional ethics in the libraries and information sciences department of South India University, IPR issues in e-learning in digital era, emergence of digital libraries, IPR issues and challenges, and last one, maintenance of digital archives and its preservations, issues of IPR and its challenges. Sir, many articles on IPR. So I hope that our participants will be enriched with the topic today, IPR, topic on IPR, sir. We heartily welcome you, sir. Thank you. Unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sir, and a small request.
Sir.
Your image is crossed, sir. Can you make it straight? I don't know why it is like that.
It's reversed, sir.
It is reversed, sir.
Yeah.
No, again it is reversed.
No.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, now
Yes, sir. It's okay, sir.
it's okay, sir.
Okay, madam.
You continue, sir. Okay.
Okay, madam.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to all the participants. Thank you. Thank you, madam. And today's topic, you know very well about the importance of the intellectual rights, the changing world scenario. And our principal madam rightly pointed out the significance and the importance of the intellectual property rights in the present day scenario. Actually, the intellectual property is also a property, but it is an intangible property. And since the olden ages, the one way or the other, these intellectual properties and its inventions are there. It is not entirely a new subject, but there are certain international conventions and treaties relating to the protection and promotion of intellectual property to promote the R&D activity to bring new transformation in the entire world. So as part of the promotion of intellectual property and protection of intellectual property, there are certain international conventions in the previously, Manki Berne Convention relating to the copyrights and Paris Convention relating to the industrial property were held. But we can say that the మనకి ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ట్రీటీ అండ్ intellectual property rights, it was held in 1994. That is in the year 1994. There is an important intellectual property treaty that is 1 minute. Trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. Trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. TRIPS and antuntam manam. There are two important international treaties in the year 1994. One is TRIPS and the other is TRIMS. The TRIPS is relating to the intellectual properties, and this TRIPS agreement brought revolutionary changes in the field of intellectual property rights worldwide. Because of the TRIPS agreement, there is a similar kind of legal framework developed in almost all the countries, because in almost all the international treaties and conventions, India is also a member. And this intellectual property rights treaty in the year 1994, that is a TRIPS agreement. In TRIPS agreement also, India is also a member. In this agreement, there are certain prescribed minimum standards that have to be followed by all the member nations, and they are binding on the member nations also. And the members of the World Intellectual Property Organization and also the members of the World Trade Organization, they are agreed and accepted the prescribed minimum standards that have to be followed. And they are the mandated the member nations to follow, and they are binding on the member nations also. All the member nations agreed the prescribed minimum standards, which have a binding effect on all the member nations. And this as part of this international agreement, the member nations agreed to implement these prescribed minimum standards for the in relation to the intellectual property rights from 1995 to 2005. And during this period, all the member nations agreed to implement these prescribed minimum standards relating to the intellectual property rights for the protection and promotion of intellectual property rights among the member countries. So, on the basis of this international agreement, TRIPS agreement, in the year 1994, all the member nations, it is mandated all the member nations to bring the domestic legislations, make amendments to the make amendments in the existing IPR legislations also to bring the change in relation to the more and more protections and the promotion of intellectual property in their own countries. And India is also a member nation to the TRIPS agreement, and India agreed to implement these prescribed minimum standards for the protection and promotion of intellectual property rights. And accordingly, in tune with the international commitments and international obligations as part of these international agreements, the government of India brings several legislations and made amendments to the existing laws relating to the copyrights, Actually, the Copyright Act, it was enacted in the year 1957, and the Patents Act in the year 1970. And in tune with the international commitments and in tune with the international, the prescribed minimum standards of TRIPS agreement, in this Copyright Act and also the Patents Act, the required changes they were made by the Parliament to promote the intellectual property rights and to protect the intellectual property rights for the innovations, to promote the innovations in the field of R&D, research and development. Because a nation's progress depending upon the R&D activity and innovations and new inventions. Otherwise, the industry, because in any country, any activity, it should be a dynamic activity, more particularly in the field of research and development and inventions. They require new advancement, new technologies, and the industry is badly in need of the technology. So, if the R&D is not promoted, if the R&D activity is not promoted, this kind of new inventions may not be possible. So that is the reason the world, the global community, as well as the policy makers in India realized the importance of intellectual property and its protection and promotion. Otherwise, the new inventions may not be possible. So the talent and the cream should be attracted towards the R&D activity, and for that, whatever the inventions and what are the new creations made by the researchers and inventors, it is required to be protected. Otherwise, no inventor, no researcher will be coming forward to make their own research and to make their own inventions. Because it is not a intellectual property, and the efforts made to make inventions and new creations in the field of intellectual property, it's not a small issue, it's not a simple task. So years together, it requires years together effort, and it requires the resources for the promotion of the R&D activity. Otherwise, the new inventions may not be possible. That is the reason it requires an appropriate legal framework for the promotion of intellectual property. So that aspect was realized by the policy makers at the national level and also at the global level. And one more thing that is very clear, that after the emergence of WTO, World Trade Organization, there is a boost to the intellectual properties and its promotion and its protection, because the intellectual property is also a trading commodity. The intellectual property is also a trade commodity, because the trade after the emergence of WTO, the trade in IPRs is multiplied like anything, is increasing like anything. So the trade in IPRs is also covered under the ambit of WTO, World Trade Organization. Alage, the TRIPS agreement and TRIMS agreement. TRIMS agreement is relating to the trade-related investment measures, and the TRIPS agreement is relating to the trade-related intellectual property rights. And both the agreements are brought into the ambit of WTO also. And once they were brought into the ambit of WTO, the trade in IPRs, they are multiplied like anything. And the required promotion and the required protection extended to the intellectual property rights worldwide. And all the member nations realized the importance of intellectual property rights because this intellectual property rights, they are created by the human mind. It is the creation of human mind, and it is the creation of human intellect, and it is an intangible property. And through the IPR policies and IPR laws, the exclusive rights granted by the state in favor of the inventors and researchers, and whatever the contribution made by the inventors and researchers, that is appropriately recognized and protected through the IPR policies and the IPR laws, in the name of the exclusive rights and limited monopoly rights granted by the state through the IPR laws. Otherwise, ante these exclusive rights provided for the inventors and researchers for a limited period. It is a kind of limited monopoly right. So through the copyright law, whatever the new creations made by the creators, it has been recognized, and for a limited duration, these exclusive rights granted in favor of the creators. Likewise, in patents also, a limited period of duration, which is otherwise called as a monopoly right, granted by the state in favor of the inventors for the new creations, to encourage them, to encourage more and more inventions in the field of the patents, in the field of patents, and new patents can be granted either in the field of either for the product patents or process patents, and about the product patent as well as the process patents can also be granted by the patent authorities, and for a limited period, on the basis of exclusive rights, the researchers and inventors are allowed for its commercial exploitation to gain the economic return or royalty for their contribution made in the field of research, in the field of R&D. So whatever the inventions and whatever the creations made by the intellectual property right owners or the researchers and inventors, these exclusive rights are granted by the state to promote the intellectual property rights. It is a kind of incentive provided through the IPR laws, because in almost all the cases, whatever the inventions or whatever the creations made by the researchers and inventors, the state is not the state is not in a position to give incentive to each and every the creator and inventor. So that is the reason through the IPR policies worldwide, in every country, and also in our own country, through the intellectual property laws, whatever the inventions or whatever the new creations made by the inventors and researchers, that is appropriately recognized and incentive to be provided through the market conditions. And whatever the invention or whatever the creation made by them, it is appropriately the commercial exploitation allowed. And because of the market demand and because of the market forces, this kind of inventions are readily accepted, are readily taken by the industry, and this industry can provide the appropriate the incentive in the name of royalty or in the name of the economic return. It can be provided to the inventors and researchers. So it is a kind of incentive to the researchers and inventors, which can be attracted. The cream and talented people should be attracted to the field of intellectual property rights and to the field of R&D. So that is the reason the R&D activity will be dynamic in nature, and this kind of intellectual property rights creations and inventions can be promoted like anything. So in this thing, intellectual property మనం define చేసేటప్పుడు, intellectual property shall include the rights relating to the literary and artistic works, atlane which includes the scientific works, performance of performing artists, phonograms and broadcasts, inventions in all fields of human endeavor, scientific discoveries, industrial designs, trademarks, service marks, and commercial names and designations. Alage protection against unfair competition can also be included in the field of intellectual property to give effective protection and promotion to the intellectual property rights. And and there are certain international treaties we can mention here. The Paris Convention for the Protection of Industrial Property, 1893, and Berne Convention for the Protection of Literary and Artistic Works, 1896, International Union for New Varieties of Plants, 1961, 1972, 1978, and 1991. Likewise, the Convention on Biodiversity, 1992, Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights, 1994, and also the Internet Treaties, 1996. So these are the certain international treaties and conventions relating to the IPRs in one way or the other. So, as part of the intellectual property rights and its protection and promotion is concerned, the state granted certain exclusive rights and limited monopoly right to the intellectual property rights owners or the or otherwise called as the researchers and inventors. And instead, under the IPR laws, there will be a contract between the and our state for the protection of the new kind of made by the inventors. At the same time, whatever the exclusive rights or whatever the limited monopoly right granted in favor of the owners of the intellectual property rights, the state can maintain a balance between the rights of the creator and the rights of the public, because it is an obligation and it is also the duty of the state to maintain the proper balance between the interest of the creators and inventors and also the interest of the public, the common man in public domain. So an appropriate balance has to be maintained through the IPR policies and IPR laws. Otherwise, sometimes if the monopoly right is extended, if the exclusive rights, whatever the exclusive rights granted by the state, sometimes it may be putting a burden on the common man in the public domain. That is the reason, while providing exclusive rights and limited monopoly rights to the creators and inventors, the state can maintain a proper balance between the interest of the inventors and researchers for the promotion of the intellectual property activity, for the creation of new products and new inventions, and at the same time, whatever the burden to be on common man in public domain, that has to be taken into consideration. And that is the reason this kind of intellectual property rights, they are not unlimited, they are not absolute, and there are certain limitations and exceptions also. So, and the interest of the common man in public domain can also be taken into consideration at the same time. Again, there are major intellectual property rights which includes the copyrights and related rights and the industrial property. So industrial property, which includes the patents, industrial designs, the trademarks, geographical indications, layout designs, and topographies of integrated circuits, trade secrets, and protection of new plant varieties like that. So we have our own the Copyright Act 1957. It was under the Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Human Resource Development at the central government, because all the intellectual property rights and all the policies relating to the intellectual property rights and intellectual property laws, they are in the union list. That is the reason whatever the law made in the field of intellectual property rights, or whatever the amendments made to the existing intellectual property laws, that has to be done by the Parliament, because it is in the union list. So the Copyright Act, it was enacted by the Indian Parliament in the year 1957, and Patents Act that was enacted in the year 1970, and Designs Act it was enacted in the year 2000, and Trademarks Act it was enacted in the year a comprehensive trademark legislation was enacted in the field in the year 1999, and this Trademarks Act the service marks, the certification of marks and other things, they were also incorporated in the Trademarks Act 1999. And to protect the geographical invention, geographical indications, there is geographical indications of goods registration protection act 1999 also there, and semiconductor integrated circuits layer designs act 2000 is also there. Along the protection of plant varieties and farmers rights act 2001 also brought into the intellectual property policies. So here in this case, we can discuss about the importance and significance of the copyright and patent tax, and there are certain other aspects relating to the traditional knowledge and also the geographical indications in our today's lecture. So in this dimensions, actually in the intellectual property rights and whatever the rights relating to the intellectual property rights by the inventors and the researchers and the creators, we can say there are these rights are there are two kinds of rights. One is moral right, and the other thing is economic right. And this moral right is always vested with the inventor or to the researcher, and even the author. In the field of copyrights, this kind of the moral right is always vested with the author and the writer, and the economic right to bring economic benefits and economic return or economic in the name of royalty, it can provide the economic benefit to the creators and inventors, and this economic right can be transferable, and it can be transferred from its creator to the users, and it can be transferred from the inventor to the industry. So in certain aspects, sometimes author as owner of rights, and there are certain exceptions also. So sometimes, suppose the software creation, software is also a program based and a literary based, and software is also covered under the Copyright Act. And in such cases, whatever the software, whoever the software professionals, they are engaged by the company. In such cases, whatever the creation made by those software professionals or researchers who are engaged by the company or by the employer, in such cases, whatever the new creation made by the researcher, it is considered that itself created in the course of employment. So in such cases, the copyright, the ownership of the copyright is under the employer. So the ownership in such cases vested with the employer, because all these professionals and researchers, they were engaged by the employer or by the company. So that is the reason whatever the new creation made by the researchers or team of researchers in the field of such a creation, the copyright held by the employer. Atlane, in some cases, the cinematographic works and making of films and documentaries, in such cases, the producer, the copyright over such a cinematography work will be held by the producer, because the producer is pumping all the required investment and money for to bring such movie. That is the reason all the technicians and researchers they are engaged by the producer, and he is the person the one relating to create. So in the case of the copyright, there are certain things. So whatever the protection under the Copyright Act, it is a formality protection and a formal protection. Under the Copyright Act, the registration is not compulsory. The registration is voluntary, and registration does not, as a matter of law, because of
Akhtar ma'am,
there
please
are,
mute yourself.
because of registration, there
Akhtar ma'am.
are advantages, and because of non-registration, there are certain advantages. As far as under the Copyright Act in India, the registration is not compulsory, but it is voluntary, according to under Section 44 and 45 of Copyright Act. But the registration provided mm, the additional protection to the creators, and particularly in the field of the software and all these aspects, and even the cinematography works, because whatever the creations made by the persons, they are much more commercial value, and in such cases, it is better to register under the Copyright Act. Even an unregistered creative work can also seek protection under the Copyright Act. So, registration లేనంత మాత్రాన అక్కడ ప్రొటెక్షన్ ఉండదని కాదు, but because of registration there are certain advantages, and if it is not registered, there are certain disadvantages also be there. We can discuss whatever the advantages of registration and whatever the disadvantages of non-registration, we can discuss later. So, under the Copyright Act, the literary works, the works relating to drama, the musical works and artistic works, they are covered under the Copyright Act. And in addition to that, the cinematography works and works relating to performance and performance of artists, and they are also included under the Copyright Act. And in addition to that, the rights relating to the broadcasting organizations and telecasting organizations and rebroadcasting can also be brought into the ambit of the Copyright Act. But under the Copyright Act, the period of duration of protection may be varied from literary works to other kinds of works which are covered under the Copyright Act. As far as literary works and works relating to drama, musical and artistic works, the duration of the copyright protection can be provided to the authors and writers and creators during their lifetime, plus 60 years of post-mortem period. And even after their death, the legal heirs and the descendants, they can claim the commercial benefit and royalty for a period of 60 years, even after their death. So it is called as the post-mortem period, and it means their lifetime plus 60 years of post-mortem period, they can gain the monetary returns or commercial exploitation on their cooperated works in the field of literary and in the field of the drama, musical and artistic works, like that. So all other works other than these literary works, 60 years of the copyright protection is available to the creators from the date of their publication under the Copyright Act. So, rights granted by the law of communicators, which includes the rights of the performance and rights of the broadcasting organizations, can also be covered under the the Copyright Act, which includes the recording, broadcasting, and communicating to the public of a live performance, presumption of the transfer of performers' right to cinematography, films, and documentaries, and in this field, in these creations, a period of 50 years copyright protection is made available under the copyright law. So this is for the purpose of protection, provided protection given by the state to the creators in the field of copyright to attract more and more talented people to create more and more creative works. That is the reason this kind of incentive can be provided through the copyright policy and copyright law by the state. అట్లనే మనకి రైట్స్ ఆఫ్ బ్రాడ్కాస్టింగ్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్, బ్రాడ్కాస్టింగ్, reproduction, rebroadcasting, recording, communicating to the public of a live broadcast. They are also included. In such cases, the commercial exploitation or the protection can be provided for a period of 25 years under the copyright law in such cases. So whatever the creations and new creations made under the Copyright Act by the creators, they can be appropriately recognized and promoted and protected to allow them to make it commercially viable and to seek commercial exploitation in such cases. And because of such commercial exploitation, more and more creators will be coming forward and create certain new creative works which may be ultimately they are useful to the society and social progress. And it can be largely benefited for the economic development of the state also. So whatever the creative works or whatever the scientific works and whatever the software creations made by the researchers and creators under the Copyright Act, it can provide a lot to the Indian economy, for the development of the Indian economy and to the state, and it will be largely benefited to the economy. So that is the reason the intellectual property rights and the intellectual property laws are very much required for the protection, whatever the creations made by them, and to promote the commercial exploitation of those creators, because that itself is an incentive to attract more and more talent towards the creative works. That is the reason, this kind of intellectual property laws and policies made by the state effectively. And another important intellectual property, that is patent. So whatever the new inventions and new products invented by the researchers and the inventors, they have to be recognized and they have to be registered under the patent policy and patent law. And actually a patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention which is a product or a process that provides a new way of doing something or offers a new technical solution to an existing problem also. So the patent, it is a limited monopoly right. It is a limited monopoly right granted by the state, enables an inventor to prohibit another person from manufacturing or using or selling the patented product or from using the patented process without the permission of its inventor or without the consent of its inventor. Actually, the patent law is for a period of 20 years. The duration of the patent period is for a period of 20 years. And during this 20 years period, the inventors and researchers who made the invention, they are allowed to seek commercial exploitation. So whatever the commercial exploitation, it can be done, and they can the inventors and researchers will be benefited because of this commercial exploitation. And this commercial exploitation that itself is that the state can protect their own invention under the patent law, and it can prevent through the patent law and its legal framework to prevent the another person, another researchers and another inventors prohibit another person from manufacturing or using or selling the patented product, and the another the researchers and inventors they can also be prevented the reverse engineering or a similar invention, because once a patent is granted for an invention, and similar invention made by any other researcher and any other inventor should not be recognized and should not be allowed to seek patent. Once a patent is granted for an invention made by an inventor and researcher, for such a similar invention could not be allowed for patenting. So that is the kind of prohibition of reverse engineering in the field of in the field of inventions and under the patent law. So that is the protection which can be provided under the patent law to the inventors and researchers to protect their invention and to promote their invention and allow the commercial exploitation of the inventors and researchers for a period of 20 years. To grant the patent, there are three important aspects. One is novelty, and the second one is non-obviousness, and the third one is industrial application. So before granting a patent, there are certain requirements to be fulfilled. There are certain fundamental requirements to be fulfilled by the inventor before the patent authority. So patent authority is an authority under the state, and an authority can be created by the central government under the patent law. So in a controller of patents, so we can say like that, the controller of patents is the authority. And to grant the patent in India, there are the patent offices are located at Kolkata, New Delhi, Chennai, and Mumbai. The Patent Information Center can also be there in Nagpur also. And to grant the patents, the inventor must fulfill certain conditions for the granting of patent. And these are the fundamental requirements to be fulfilled. Whatever the invention made by the inventor, it should be a novel invention. It should not be, and such a similar invention should not be there in any part of the globe. And if such similar invention is there in any part of the globe, such invention could not be allowed to register to grant the patent. And the invention must be non-obvious, and it should be involved with an inventive step. And whatever the invention made by the researcher or the inventor, it should be suitable for industrial application. If it is not suitable for industrial application, and if such an invention, if it is not suitable for industrial utility, the patent could not be granted, because the commercial exploitation in the name of patent and the incentive to be provided to the inventor in the name of commercial exploitation, all these things can be provided to the inventor and to the researcher, because whatever the invention made by the that should be useful for industrial activity. If an invention is not useful for the industrial activity or industrial application, there is no need to provide incentive to the inventors. So that is the reason under the patent law, whatever the invention and new product or new process invented by the inventors and researchers, that should be suitable for industrial application, and suitable for industrial utility. If it is not suitable for industrial application, patent can be granted. That is very clear. So that is also one of the requirement to be fulfilled. It should be whatever the new invention or new technology developed by the inventor, that should be suitable for industrial application, that has to be approved by the inventor, and then only a patent can be granted. So while granting the patent to the inventors and researchers by the state, there is a kind of a contract between the inventor and the sovereign state. Because the patent can be granted by the patent authority or the controller of patents, and the patent authority is created by the state under the patent law, and on behalf of the central government, on behalf of the government, on behalf of the sovereign state, a patent can be granted to the inventor and to the researcher. So there is a kind of a contractual relation between the inventor and the sovereign state, and whatever the invention and whatever the new invention made by the inventor, at the time of the registration of such an invention before the patent authority, the inventor and the researcher, they should disclose the total disclosure. They should reveal the total description of the invention before the patent authority. At the time of filing of the patent application before the patent authority, the inventor or the researcher, they should disclose the total description of the invention before the patent authority. If it is not properly disclosed, if the inventor is not disclosed the total description of the invention, no patent can be granted. So one such obligation on behalf of the inventor, on the part of the contractual agreement or a relation between the inventor and the sovereign state, the inventor must disclose the total description of the invention to the patent authority, to the government, and in return, a patent can be granted by the state reciprocally. So that is the obligation. Once after the fulfilling of these conditions by the inventor at the time of filing a patent application, in addition to that, the disclosure of the total description of the invention, then the state can grant the patent towards the inventor. So it is a reciprocal obligation between the parties of the inventor and the sovereign state. That is the kind of the contractual relationship between the inventor and the sovereign state, we can say like that. Alage, novelty means invention not known to public prior to the claim made by the inventor. So whatever the claim made by the inventor at the time of the filing of patent application, it should not be known to anybody else except the inventor. That is the kind of novelty, and that is the kind of the origin of the invention and original invention, you can say like that. And it should be involved with an inventive step. An initial application, invention can be made or used in any useful practical activity as distinct from purely intellectual. So that is the kind of industrial application, and it should be suitable for industrial application. Otherwise, a patent could not be granted. Patents are granted by the national patent offices after publication and substantial examination of the applications. In India, provisions exist for pre-grant and post-grant opposition by others also. So they are valid within the territorial limits. Whatever the patents granted by the state or the patent authority, they are valid the territorial limits of the country. Of course, in abroad also, we can the researchers and inventors, they can also register the inventions in abroad also. The patent offices before the other countries. Because of the flexibility provided under the international treaties, which includes the TRIPS agreement, there is a kind of flexibility provided to the foreigners who can also apply patents in India, and the Indian researchers and Indian people, they can also allow to register their own inventions in abroad also. So that is the kind of flexibility provided. And even under the patent law, whatever the new inventions made by the inventors, they are allowed to file the patent applications with the provisional specifications. And sometimes because of this, the complexity and because the technical complexity involved in such research activities and in such inventions, the the researchers and inventors, they are allowed to file the patent application with a provisional specification, and that should be allowed to continue up to the period of 12 months. And before the expiry of 12 months period, before the completion of 12 months period, the researchers and inventors who made the patent application with the provisional specifications, they need to submit the complete specifications before the expiry of 12 months period. Because of the complexity and the technical complexity in the field of the research activities and inventions, sometimes the total technical details may not be available at the time of filing of the patent application. That is the reason the provisional specification, the inventor can be allowed to file a patent application with the provisional specifications. And thereafter, the technical data, after the completion of the collection of the technical details, they are allowed to file the complete specifications within a period of 12 months. So that is that is also one of the advantage to the inventors to file their patent applications before the patent authority. It is the kind of the flexibility given to the inventors because of the complexity in such inventions. So, atlane, the patent granting of patent is also a complex procedure. A complex procedure has to be followed to grant the patent in favor of the inventors. So the publication is one of the important criteria after the filing of the patent application by the inventors before the patent authority. And because of the publication is one of the mandatory requirement to publish the claim made by the inventor. And because of such publication in a patent journal, that should be brought to the notice of the other inventors, the other researchers, and to the general public. And if there is any lacuna in the claim made by the inventor, or if such an invention is based on traditional knowledge, and if such an invention is contrary with the public policy of the state, because any invention made by the inventor, if it is contrary to the public policy, no patent can be granted. It is if it is against to the public policy of the government or the state, a patent could not be granted. Atlane, sometimes if such an invention is based on the traditional knowledge, it is already there in public domain. So on the basis of such traditional knowledge, if an invention is made, if a new product is made, a patent could not be granted. So that is the reason the publication is very much required, and it is a counter check. It is a kind of a counter check, and the other researchers and other the inventors and also the general public may scrutiny. And if it is based on traditional knowledge, and if it is contrary to the well-established the natural laws, and if it is contrary with the public policy of the government, then anyone can make an opposition before the patent authority not to grant the patent. So that is the complex procedure that has to be followed in such cases. And if such a similar invention is already there, in such cases also, it can be opposed to grant the patent by the patent authority in favor of the inventors and researchers. that is the reason sometimes if there is any opposition from the public or from the other researchers and inventors, it will take a little more time. And if there is any opposition, such an opposition is called as a pre-grant opposition. Before the granting of the patent, pre-grant opposition can be allowed. If there is any pre-grant opposition, that can be allowed by the patent authority. And there is a kind of adjudicatory procedure, an adjudicatory process to examine the opposition and allow the inventor to prove their claim before the patent authority. And on the basis of the completion of adjudicatory process by the patent authority, and then only a patent can be granted. If the opposition, whatever the opposition can be filed by the other persons against the claim made by the inventor, in such cases, if the opponents substantiated their allegation or their opposition, if it is properly substantiated and if it is not properly answered and responded by the inventor, the patent can be rejected. The claim made by the inventor can be rejected, and the patent application can be rejected. Otherwise, if the inventor and the researcher properly answered and responded all the allegations made against him by the opponents, then the patent application by the inventor may be qualified, and the adjudicatory authority can recommend to the controller to grant the patent in such cases. So that is the reason it is a complex process to be qualified and to be followed in such cases of granting of patent by the patent authority. And even after the granting of patent also, if there is any objection to the aggrieved parties, to the opponents, they can make an appeal to the patent appellate authority also, patent appellate board. There is also a patent appellate board. If there is any opposition and if there is a difference of opinion to the aggrieved party, they can make an opposition and they can make an appeal to the patent appellate board also. And even after the decision of the patent appellate board, in certain cases, if the appeal is allowed by the patent appellate board, if there are reasons, they may revoke the patent which was granted by the patent authority also. And even the decision of the patent appellate board can also be challenged before the Supreme Court, which is the final appellate authority in such cases. So Supreme Court is the final authority in such disputes to decide the case finally. So that is the adjudicatory process and granting of patent process under the patent law in India under the Patent Act. And whatever the patent which was granted by the patent authority, that can be provided a period of 20 years duration for the commercial exploitation by the inventor and the researchers. During this period of 20 years, it can be used by the inventor or the researcher, or it can be transferred to somebody else, and it can be transferred to the industry, and it can be assigned to somebody else also. So ultimately, because the patented invention or patented technology is an advanced one, is a novel technology, because it's a novel technology or a novel invention, and which is an advanced invention. That is the reason the industry is badly in need of technology, badly in need of the advanced technology. That is the reason the industry people, they may be in queue to grab the technology, the patented technology or the patented invention. Then, with the licensing agreement, the researchers and inventors, they can transfer the patented technology to the industry, which is rightly there to grab the technology. So industry is badly in need of technology, and whatever the advanced technology, advanced the patented inventions made by the inventors and researchers, they will be largely benefited. And it is also an important contribution made by the inventors and researchers to the development of the society and for the progress of the nation also. Because of the inventors, because of the commercial exploitation, through the patented inventions and patented technology, the inventors as well as the state will be largely benefited. And because of the new kind of technologies and new kind of the inventions, the society can also be largely benefited. That is the reason this is the kind of the commercial exploitation is the kind of incentive granted or provided to the inventors by the state. So ultimately, it is the market demand and market forces who can determine the price of or the monetary value of the invention made by the inventors and researchers. Sometimes beyond the expectations of the inventors and researchers, the monetary returns they can gain because of the market demand and market forces. So that is the kind of incentive, that is the kind of attraction of the talent and the cream towards the R&D activity. And if there are more and more inventions are there, then the state can also be largely benefited. And because of the new technologies and new kind of inventions and the patented inventions and patented technologies, they may bring revolutionary changes in the field of economy, in the field of industry. And even they can provide the required needs and aspirations of the people in the society also. There is a kind of revolutionary change. Manam chustunam the internet related communication technology brought revolutionary changes not only in the field of communications but also in the field of the human endeavor. So mobile phones దగ్గర నుంచి మనం the electronic devices and in the and also the internet of things alage electronic devices which are largely used in the field of medicine, in the field of agriculture, and also in the field of space technology. The use of the spectrum resource in the field of the mobile communication technology. So all these things they are nothing but the inventions made by the researchers and inventors in the field of intellectual property. So they brought revolutionary changes in the society, and they provide advanced technology to the industry. And because of the much more dynamic industrial activity, the industry provide a lot of employment opportunities to the budding youth. So that is the reason ultimately they are minting money like anything. The inventors and researchers, they will be largely benefited, and at the same time the revenue, because of the revenue generation and because of the employment increasing the employment opportunities, the state can also be benefited largely. So a lot of revenue can be generated to the national economy and global economy, and lot of the trade in IPRs can be increasing like anything. So nationally and globally through the World Trade Organization, the trade in IPRs is multiplying like anything, and it has been increasing like anything. And this is the reason this intellectual properties and the patent policies, an effective legal framework developed for the protection and promotion of the intellectual property rights, which includes the patents and other creative works in the field of intellectual property rights. In addition to that, there is a kind of the traditional knowledge, because of the traditional knowledge is also another kind of the intellectual property which is already there in public domain since long back. So before discussing about the traditional knowledge, we can discuss another important um, concept under the patent law, that is um, compulsory licensing. So there is a concept under the patent law, there is a compulsory licensing policy. And at the time, before we are going to talk about the compulsory licensing, we discuss about, until we just mention about one particular aspect, that is while granting the patent, the state may maintain a balance between the interest of the inventors and also the interest of the common man at in the public domain. So while granting the patent, and the patent in the name, the patent which includes the exclusive rights and limited monopoly right also. So while granting this kind of limited monopoly right and exclusive rights in the name of patent in favor of the researchers and inventors, at the same time, whatever the quantum of burden to be there on the common man and in the public domain. So it is an obligation of the state to maintain the proper balance between the rights of the interest of the inventor and also the interest of the common man. Because the state is there not only for the state is there not only for the protection of the interest of the patent holder. Ultimately, it is the foremost and it is the foremost thing before the state to maintain the public welfare and to protect the rights of the people, to protect the rights and interest of the common man in the public domain. So that is the reason, if any patent granted in favor of the inventors and researchers, sometimes if it is putting more and more burden on the common man, particularly in the field of the medicine, in the field of drugs and pharmaceuticals, there are certain life-saving drugs and all these cases. And in such cases, because of the patenting drug, because the patent, because of the patenting drug, there is no, there is the prohibition of the reverse engineering. In such cases, if it is relating to a life-saving drug, in such cases, there may be an escalation of price of such life-saving drug in the market sometimes. And the industries, because of the limited monopoly right, and sometimes they may commit some unfair trade practices or market cartelization because of the advantage in the market. Until there is no similar life-saving drug available in the market. Particularly, we can make an example. We can give an example relating to the cancer disease or some other acquired immunodeficiency syndrome like that. There are medicines. There are certain life-saving drugs. In such cases, sometimes the drugs which are available for the curing of or for the give relief to the cancer patients, there are certain life-saving drugs which may be the higher prices, which may be increasing prices are on the basis of the market demand and all these things. So one such a medicine by name Glivec by the companies, it may be a 1 month dose, maybe 2.5 lakhs and all these things. So sometimes because of these life-saving drugs which are provided by the companies and such similar medication is not available in the market, there is a kind of market cartelization and because of the monopoly, limited monopoly right and exclusive rights under the patent law. In those situations, it is unavoidable to the state to issue the compulsory license. So in such cases, to protect the interest of the common man in public domain, it is the responsibility of the state to come into the rescue of the citizen, to rescue of the patients, to rescue of the common man. So in such cases, the state may issue a compulsory license. Once a compulsory license can be issued, the patenting rights of the inventors and researchers may be diluted like anything. Of course, it is it is a weapon in the hands of the compulsory license. Is a weapon, a legal weapon in the hands of the state, and it may be utilized. It may be invoked sparingly and rarely. When there is a public demand, when there is a medical emergency, when there is an extraordinary situation, and when there is such a situation or the kind of market cartelization committed by the inventors or researchers or by the industry, in such cases, because of the monopoly of the product and limited monopoly right enjoyed by the companies and the inventors, in such cases, it is unavoidable to the state to come into the rescue of the common man and issue the compulsory license. And once a compulsory license can be issued, the price of the invention or the royalty price of the invention can be determined by the patent authority or by the controller of patents. And such a similar the formulation of the invention and the description of the invention which is already there with the patent authority, because at the time of patent application, the inventor or the researcher they were provided the total description of the invention to the patent authority. It is already vested with the patent authority. In such cases, when the compulsory license can be provided to the n number of companies authority, and then those companies can produce the required drugs or medication to overcome the difficulties in the public domain by the common man. In such cases, even without the consent and acceptance of the patent holders, it can be provided to the n number of companies for its production. So that is the kind of the compulsory licensing can be done by the state in an extraordinary situation, in a rare situation. In almost all the cases, the patent holder, the interest of the patent holder can be protected, but rarely in an extraordinary situation only, exceptional conditions, extraordinary situations, then only the state intervention in the name of compulsory licensing can be sought. So we can't say that this compulsory license is diluting the interest of the inventors in all the cases. So in all the cases, the new inventions and new patented technologies and patented inventions can be promoted like anything, and appropriate incentives can be provided in the name of the exclusive rights and limited monopoly rights, and commercial exploitation can be allowed in almost all the cases. There are no bottlenecks in this regard. So exceptional conditions only, in an extraordinary situation only, the state can invoke the compulsory licensing instrument or a weapon to protect the interest of the common man in public domain. That is the concept of compulsory licensing under the patent law. Another important area that is traditional knowledge, and in almost all the communities globally and nationally, there are certain proven technologies, proven practices which are already there in public domain. Even we have our own Ayurvedic, there are certain examples in the field of Ayurveda also. So there are certain proven practices in Ayurveda. They are scientifically proved also, particularly tulasi, turmeric, neem, like that. So the whatever the practices which are used in Ayurveda with the neem, turmeric, and tulasi, black pepper, like that, they are the proven practices medically, scientifically, and sometimes there are certain researchers and certain companies and their researchers. They are doing their own research and they are seeking patents on the basis of our own traditional knowledge. In almost all the countries, in almost all the societies, there are certain proven practices which is otherwise called as the traditional knowledge, which is already there in public domain since long back. So that is the reason there is an example in respect of traditional knowledge and claiming the patents on our own traditional knowledge in the past. So one such incident is relating to the turmeric and neem, and there are two NRIs made their research in abroad in US. They are filing patent application to seek patent on neem and turmeric before the US Patent Office previously. So that was strongly objected by the Indian government and through CSIR, and that was fought against the two NRIs before the US Patent Office, and the Indian government and the CSIR they were submitted the documentary evidence relating to the neem and turmeric, which is in practice in public domain since long back. Ultimately, the patent application of two NRIs, non-resident Indians, who claimed their inventions before the US Patent Office, they were stands rejected. So that is the reason the traditional a law was enacted to safeguard our own traditional knowledge by the Indian government to for the documentation and protection of the traditional knowledge, bundles of traditional knowledge which is already there in public domain. So that is another kind of importance of traditional knowledge in public domain. And there is another important legislation which is relating to the geographical indications. So geographical indications is another important area of traditional knowledge, another important area of intellectual property. So in respect of geographical indications, you know very well about the basmati and other products which are already there in India. So these geographically originated products which are available globally and nationally also. So in India, geographical indications is an indication which identifies the goods as agricultural goods or natural goods or manufactured goods as originating or manufactured in the territory of such country or a region or a locality in that territory where a given quality or reputation or other characteristics of such good is essentially attributable to its geographical origin. So you know very well the importance and commercial importance of the basmati product in India, like Alfonso mangoes, and there are certain other products, which includes the Nilgiri tea, the Assam tea, the Darjeeling tea, like that. So these products are geographically originated, and because of their geographical origination, its quality, they are maintaining exclusive quality and specific features they are maintained. And if the same product is yielding from other regions, they may not be continue and they may not be reflected those specific features or specific quality in those products because of their geographical origination, because of the soil condition, because of the temperature, and because of the water which may be available, and because of these atmospheric conditions, there are certain agricultural products or natural products which may be coming or originated from those geographical regions. They can maintain an appropriate quality and specific features. So that is the reason those products can be identified and registered under the geographical indications law. So GI indication can be provided in such cases because of such geographical indications, they can maintain a commercial edge over the other product over the same product which are originated from the other regions. So that is the reason our own product, the Basmati, can maintain a commercial edge in the international market also. So that is the kind of geographical indication. So GA indication can be provided those products, those agricultural and natural products, and also the manufactured products on the basis of such agricultural and natural products exclusively originated from those geographical regions only. So in such cases, it's because of geographical indication, GA indication, there is an economic gain and commercial importance and commercial significance can also be attributed to those products. And goods include goods of handicraft and or industry and also foodstuff also. So for this, geographical indications played a vital role for the commercial significance of those products which are originated from those geographical regions. So geographical products or the J indication for those products can also be registered before the geographical indications registry. And geographical indications registry examines and publishes the application before its registration. And registration is valid for 10 years, but can be renewed indefinitely. It can be renewed indefinitely because these products can be continued because of those geographical conditions which are already there in such geographical locations. So this kind of geographical indications law under the intellectual property rights can also be played a vital role for the promotion of such products nationally and also in the international market. And this is also a kind of exclusive right to use the geographical indications on the goods and right to obtain relief for the infringement of the geographical indications. So another important area in the field of intellectual property rights, which can be played a vital role for the intellectual properties nationally and globally, and which provides the economic importance and significance to the nation and to the nationally and globally also. That is trade secrets. So trade secrets is another kind of intellectual property, and there are some inventions, data, information which cannot be protected by any of the available means of intellectual property rights. Such information is held confidential as a trade secret. So trade secret which includes any inventions or any data or any information which cannot be protected under the other IPR law. Suppose if an invention is not protected under the patent law, and if an invention which is not registered under the patent law can also be maintained as a trade secret. And in some cases, there are certain organizations and companies and industries. There are certain vital information which may be confidential to seek protection. And in such cases, such confidential information can be maintained as a trade secret by those organizations and companies also. Of course, for the protection of trade secrets, there is a specific trade secret legislation is not there. In the absence of a specific trade secret legislation, uh, the the public legislations like Indian Penal Code and Indian Contract Act, Indian Evidence Act, they can be coming into the picture to protect the trade secrets of these organizations and companies. These trade secrets and confidential information can be effectively safeguarded for the promotion of those companies and for the promotion of those trade secrets. To use the trade secrets, it is commercially as well as industrially necessary. Madam, may I continue for some time? Uma Devi,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. A trade secret can be an invention, sometimes an idea or a formula, a survey method, or any manufacturing process, or any experiment result, and a chemical formula, a recipe, and a financial strategy or business strategy of the organizations and companies, and client database also. So these are the certain examples which may be covered under the trade secrets and which needs to be protected because it's a commercial, it's a confidential information relating to the companies. Sometimes even an invention which may be qualified to seek a patent under the patent law, in such cases, the inventor or the researcher may prefer to maintain it as a trade secret rather than seeking a patent. Because if a patent if a patent is taken for such an invention by the inventor and researcher, it provides a limited monopoly right only for a period of 20 years. In such case, if the inventor prefers to maintain it as a trade secret rather than a patent, in such cases it can be maintained forever. And the significance or the commercial viability of such trade secret can be maintained forever. There is no time limitation. There is no limited period of duration for commercial exploitation. Of course, there is a risk may be associated with it because there is no kind of prohibition of the reverse engineering in case of trade secrets. If such an invention, if such an invention can be maintained as a trade secret by the owners of the trade secret or by the inventor in such cases, without seeking a patent for such an invention, he can choose, he can maintain it as a trade secret. But if a patent is granted, then there is a prohibition of reverse engineering, which may be protected the interest of the patent holder. But in case of trade secrets, that kind of prohibition of reverse engineering is not there. So reverse engineering is not prohibited in case of trade secrets. Similar invention can be made by any other competitor without stealing the such confidential information, without committing any unlawful practices. In such cases, if similar invention was developed by any other competitor, there is no kind of prohibition of reverse engineering in such cases. So it may be the risk factor which is associated with the trade secrets. But anyhow, if the confidentiality of the trade secrets can be maintained effectively and properly by the owners of the trade secrets, then they can be maintained the trade secrets and its commercial exploitation forever. So that is the reason, and that is the kind of commercial significance, and that is the reason of commercial advantage. Sometimes some of the inventors, they can maintain those inventions can also under the trade secrets. So, in addition to that, there are certain survey methods and manufacturing processes, the experiment results. Sometimes the companies and organizations, before launching a new product, they may conduct the market survey with the installation or engagement of certain marketing agencies or the company itself or the organization itself. They can maintain some research activity or survey methods and all these things. So whatever the findings made, whatever the findings under those research activity and those market surveys, the output of the research activity, that itself is the confidential information or the trade secret, and they can be maintained. So it should not be revealed to other companies. It should not be revealed to the other competitors in the same field. So that is the reason there are certain risk factors which may be there. For that to maintain its confidentiality of those trade secrets of the organization, they can install proper methods of to safeguard their own interest. As long as the confidentiality of those trade secrets can be maintained by the owners of the trade secret, they can maintain a commercial edge over the other competitors. So that is the reason the trade secrets can be effectively safeguarded with the installing certain methods by the owners of the trade secrets. Generally, the inventions, sometimes the inventions can be maintained as trade secrets when the invention is not patentable. And even the invention is patentable because of the commercial significance of the commercial returns beyond the period of 20 years. That is also one of the reasons the inventors they can maintain as a trade secret rather than a patent. Like a patent protection is limited for 20 years. When secret can be kept beyond that period, that is the reason. When cost of patent protection are prohibitive, that is also one of the reasons. When it is difficult to reverse engineering, suppose when an invention made by the inventor, in such cases, if it is a if the process of reverse engineering is a simple task, then it is the inventors may prefer to maintain it as a patent, to seek a patent under the patent law. Sometimes if the process of reverse engineering is a most complicated one, then the inventors may prefer to maintain it as a trade secret to enjoy the commercial benefit beyond the period of 20 years. That is the reason. How to safeguard the trade secrets to maintain the confidentiality of such things? Restricting the number of people having access to the secret information or confidential information. Generally, the trade secrets which are the lifeline of any confidential information or any trade secret relating to the organizations and companies, it is the lifeline of the company. If such confidential information and if such trade secrets, if they are revealed to the other competitors may take advantage to maintain an edge over the company, so over the organization. And it is a commercially, it is a very significant thing that has to be protected effectively. So that is the reason in any organization, in any company, there are a number of people are working. If those people are having access to the confidential information or secret information or the trade secrets, and if they are access with those trade secrets of the company or organization, it is not possible to maintain the confidentiality of those trade secrets. That is the reason restricting the number of people having access with the confidential information or trade secrets, that is one of the first and foremost thing that has to be done by the organization to safeguard the trade secrets. అలాగే signing of confidentiality agreement with the employees who are access, employees and business partners who are having access with the trade secrets. So signing of confidentiality agreements that have to be done with those employees or business partners who are having access with the trade secrets under the Indian Contract Act 1872. So whatever the confidentiality agreement between the employees and employers and business partners, that can also effectively safeguard. That is also one of the important thing that has to be done to protect the trade secrets of the organization. And in addition to that, using protective techniques like digital data security tools and restricting entry into such area where trade secret is held. First of all, the company or the organization to maintain the confidentiality of the trade secrets, they have to conduct an inventory. What are the trade secrets? What is the kind of confidential information required? The protection. So in any organization or in any company, there are lots of information, but each and every information may not be a confidential one. So first of all, they have to conduct an inventory to identify the trade secrets or the confidential information which needs to be protected. And thereafter, the trade secrets are located in a particular location, and there are certain electronic devices and certain security tools they have to be installed for the safeguarding those trade secrets, and they have to be cornered from the rest of the place. And there is a kind of security check or CC cams installed 24/7 to maintain the confidentiality of those trade secrets and to prevent the entry of the unauthorized persons having access with the trade secrets. That is also one of the important strategies that has to be installed by the company or the organization. Nowadays, because of the technological advancement, the digital data security tools can also be installed to restrict the entry of the unauthorized persons who may be taking access with those trade secrets, which includes the RFID systems and all these things. So that is the reason with the installation of those security tools, the confidentiality of trades, the confidentiality can be maintained. The trade secrets could not be accessed by the unauthorized persons or the third persons. They can be prevented. In addition to that, there are certain national legislations and public legislations which may be providing the protection in the form of injunction damages if secret information, if trade secrets are illegally acquired or used. Because you know very well, once there is a confidential information or a commercial information which needs protection, if such information is vital to the organization commercially and economically. In such cases, in every field of activity, there is the competition, the other competitors are also there. Sometimes the competitors may invoke certain illegal practices also. In such cases, if the other competitors with the involvement of certain employees and other things, other persons, they may invoke such illegal practices, and they may acquire such trade secrets and confidential information relating to the organizations with the adoption of the illegal, with the acquisition of illegal practices. So in such cases, an appropriate relief and remedy can be provided in the name of injunctions and orders, the court orders. They can be effectively safeguarded or effectively compensated and provide appropriate compensation if there is any kind of damages to the interest of the trade secrets in such cases. So, if there is any kind of fraudulently acquiring or with the through the employees of those companies by the other competitors, then the criminal law is also there. Indian Penal Code is also there under the provisions of the fraud and the cheating. An appropriate prosecution um, can also be invoked against those offenses, for those offenses, and those offenders can be prosecuted under the Indian Penal Code also. So both under the criminal law and also under the civil laws, um, uh, for the protection of trade secrets and its confidentiality can be maintained. So that is the importance of trade secrets in the field of intellectual property rights. So otherwise, the companies and organizations could not be survived because of the trade secrets and confidential information. One of the important area which needs protection. Otherwise, the company will be shattered like anything, and its a commercial interest and which is the vital interest of the company will be affected like anything. So that is the reason the trade secrets can be the trade secrets needs to be protected is one of the as one of the intellectual property. So, so these are the certain aspects relating to the uh, intellectual property rights which needs protection from the
Sir, sir, thank you, sir, for the great presentation with vast and valuable information. The keen and detailed presentation enriched our knowledge on intellectual property rights, their significance in the development of the nation, various aspects you have given, and I also thank you for your kind and spontaneous acceptance as a resource person. With busy schedule, even with your busy schedule, you spared your valuable time for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Thank you, sir. Now I request B. Veerbhadra Rao, Assistant Professor of Commerce, to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Department of Commerce of Dr. SRK Government Arts College.
Ma'am, sorry for interruption. I have one question.
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah,
Ma'am.
carry on.
Sir, good morning, sir. Thank you very much for your detailed information. It's highly rewarding, sir, regarding this today's topics on IPR as well as patents. Sir, I have one question with you.
Sure, madam. Welcome, madam.
Yeah. So, about the present scenario during this COVID situation, this Anandaya medicine was given on this, I don't know, Ayurvedic line or on traditional line. You were speaking about this aspect about the traditional line. So, I would like to know how far it is acceptable, because people are going very crazy and distributing it. Even in Yanam also, the total Yanam, the medicine was distributed. And same thing at Hyderabad for asthma, the fish medicine was given. How far it is acceptable? Does they have any patent registered, or the government has given permission for them? And one more thing is this medicine. You told about the risks, about the invention also, innovation. Okay, sir. So the people may fall in a risk also by unknowingly not knowing about the secrets of the medicine. It is not actually revealed. So how far it is acceptable in the society? That's what about fish medicine in Hyderabad or Anandaya medicine on COVID, sir. How people have to take it? Because recently this third phase this Medical Council of India has stopped Anandaya to distribute the medicine.
Okay, I totally agree with you. Actually, in respect of Anandaya medicine, or also in the field of Ayurveda or allopathy, any kind of medication that should be scientifically proved. First of all, they have to be applied the appropriate regulatory authority, and regulatory authority can conduct an experiment or research on that on the claim made by the Anandaya or somebody else. Whatever the claim made by the Anandaya or somebody else, that has to be proved scientifically. So there is an Ayurvedic council, and they can file an application before the Ayurvedic council about the parameters and invention relating to the COVID medication, and that has to be examined by the regulatory authority, the research community, and if it is approved, then only it can give the question of giving permission could arise. Otherwise, we can say like that, మనం నాటు మెడిసిన్ అని అంటుంటాం కదా, we can say like that. There is no the government is not entitled to give permission.
Yes,
There is
sir.
a regulatory authority,
Mm.
and that regulatory authority can constitute an expert committee with experts, with the scientific experts, and those scientific experts in the same field, they can examine the claim made by the Anandaya, and it needs to be proved scientifically. Otherwise, the question of the giving permission couldn't arise. Even in fish medicine relating to the
Asthma.
diabetic conditions, asthma conditions, they themselves told that it is not medicine. Finally, because of the intervention of the High Court, they declared that it is a prasada,
Okay.
but not a medication.
Mhm.
If it is a medication, even though it is there in public domain, even though it is there in, it can be treated as a traditional knowledge, then any such practice could be treated as a traditional knowledge, subject to its proof scientific. It should be proven scientifically. If it is not proved scientifically, it couldn't be treated as a traditional knowledge.
Yes, blindly it was taken in the second phase, and now the Medical Council of India has stopped when Omicron cases are coming. He was instructed not to use his medicine. So we are following blindly. That's what I am telling. There is no anywhere it was mentioned that this is a licensed one, like Authentic.
Actually, it couldn't say that it is a medication. Even ICMR and other regulatory agencies, they didn't give permission to Anandaya to treat it as a medication to the COVID patients.
Yes.
It is if public are using Anandaya medicine, it is the risk. The risk can also be. And the public must realize that without scientific approval, it couldn't be taken as a medication to COVID third wave or second wave.
That caution should come from government actually, not through media. Yeah, that's what I feel.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable information, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Right.
Thank you, sir. She is our associate professor of zoology at our college. Thank you for the clarification, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you for giving me the chance for asking questions.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Anyone from the participants, any doubts?
బాక్స్ ఉన్నది కూల్ రూమ్
Can we carry on?
తీసుకొని అక్కడికి వెళ్దాం
Okay, Veerbhadra. Veerbhadra.
మీరు అక్కడి నుంచి అదే అక్కడే టైం పడుతుంది
Veerbhadra, unmute yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Respected dignitaries and dear students, good morning to one and all. This is Mr. B. Veerbhadra, Professor of Commerce. It is my immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks on the successful completion of the webinar. I, on behalf of Department of Commerce, Dr. SRK Government Arts College, and my own behalf, extend a very hearty and sincere vote of thanks to all the participants. Thank you so much for being with us. At the outset, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to the eminent speaker and our resource person, Dr. A. Srinivas Garu, for delivering wonderful and insightful address. Sir, your eminent presence has indeed made this event a memorable one, and we unitedly thank you for your valuable and thoughtful words. Sir, your lecture is awesome, provided valuable information on intellectual property rights, need for its protection, and also role of it in the progress of the economy. Great information which is very, very useful during this digital era. Thank you, sir, for the excellent lecture. I extend special thanks to Dr. Yogendra Singh, HOD of Commerce, for his support and encouragement in organizing the webinar series. I extend special thanks to Mrs. Sridevi, Madam, Assistant Professor of Commerce, for the kind acceptance to deliver the inaugural address. I extend my sincere thanks to the organizing committee members and the IQAC coordinator for their contribution towards the grand success of this program. I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the man behind the screen, Advocate Sir Karimuddin Garu, who helped us in approaching the resource person, Dr. Srinivas Garu. I would like to thank the coordinators of this webinar series, Mrs. Sridevi and Mrs. Sheikh Wasabi, for the continuous support for the success of the webinar. I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to the convener of the webinar series, Dr. R. Umadevi, for her initiation and continuous support and efforts. Last but not the least, our sincere thanks to Mr. Manikasu, first MCOM, for the technical support in the success of the webinar. Stay connected for the upcoming webinars. Once again, thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you. Thank you, participants, for your kind cooperation and active participation. Hope you will all attend our upcoming events also. Thank you so much. Please stay connected with us. Stay happy and stay healthy.